welcome to this edition of the Real Agents of Change podcast. As you know, we love to honor and introduce new real agents of change, and Coach Trey has got some big missions, big needs for some cash flow, and gosh knows the real agents of change would be honored to hand him a check for $550,000, which is the average donation from real estate. So, Coach Trey, tell us a little bit about what makes you a real agent of change.
Well, I guess it goes back to my upbringing. My parents, my father is a retired Philadelphia police detective, 38 years, and my mother is a retired educator. They were both involved, got me and my siblings involved in scouting at an early age. I didn't choose the police department. I chose fighting fires. So I went into fighting fires for the city of Philadelphia. I recently retired in 2021. And I'm also a retired youth football and basketball coach. And the real reason why I connected with The Rock and when it says real agents of change, my focus is changing the condition or the destiny of the children who are just following a system that has been totally self-destructive. In 2022, over the last 4 years, I've lost 5 football players that I've coached to gun violence. 3 of them I had they started with me at the age of 5 and 6. So when I look at the situation that is going on now in 2022, and everybody is blaming the children and their parents, well, I joined the fire department, Philadelphia Fire Department, in February of 1992, 30 years ago. And these children weren't born, and their parents may have been in pre-K, kindergarten, or elementary school. But I know what was going on in the streets because I was there. You know, my job was not only putting out fires, but my job as an emergency medical technician was to aid and assist and bring help to these victims of gun violence and stabbings. You know, a lot of people forget that it was a big drug push in the urban cities across the country. Because of social media, nowadays it's out there more. But the origins were 30 years ago. And if we look at the data as far as murders in Philadelphia in particular, from 1960 to 2022, you'll see that the data in the 90s is almost congruent with now. So my purpose is peace, proper education, and cooperative economics. If we get the proper education, which deals with facts, not opinions or suppositions, you know, but straight up facts. And then we have a choice to cooperate. And when we cooperate together, the economics are there. So that's peace.
I love it. You know, when you and I started talking, we have actually a lot in common. It's interesting to meet people and, you know, just see how parallel our lives can actually be in a lot of ways. And as you know, I'm obsessed with the word peace, with the peace sign, with peace all over everything, including the only tattoo I have, which is an anklet with a peace sign on it. So,
yes.
So Coach Trey, tell us a little bit about your nonprofit, Peace, and what that nonprofit's mission is. What tell us all about that.
Peace is actually, it's a 508c1a, it's a faith-based organization. And the mission is to help the children retire their parents and grandparents. Right now, everybody is so busy, so busy. So they don't have the time to sit back and really research and read, because they think that the only way to survive or get through this is through the system of being in the rat race. But through reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, also his second book, which is the best book, which is the Cash Flow Quadrant, I actually found the game that he created called Classic Cash Flow. And so I purchased that, and me and a friend of mine, we started having cash flow barbecues. Now, for those who don't know what classic cash flow is, majority of the people know what monopoly is. Well, classic cash flow or cash flow classic is like monopoly on steroids. But the most important thing that it teaches is income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. What the bank wants to see. Your bank really doesn't care how many letters you have behind your name. Your bank doesn't really care how many, what your position is. Your bank wants to know what's your income, what's your expenses, what's your assets, and what's your liabilities. So the first thing that the children learn is that the lie that some financial people say is that your home is your biggest asset. But when you look at the financial statement, you see your home or your mortgage is under your liabilities. So it's an asset on the bank's financial statement, but not yours. So the rule is passive income minus total expense equals financial freedom. So right now in 2022, we're living in the digital world. So everything can't be real estate as an asset. So I'm showing the children how to first learn that basic foundation, and then how to cooperate through systems that are available for them to help their parents, because the parents are going to have to help them. You know, a lot of times you have children not excelling in school because the parents aren't helping them, and the parents think that the school is supposed to give them everything, and they're just supposed to come back and, you know, give them a PlayStation, give them a pacifier to do what they have to do. But this is bringing the parents into the situation at the same time. So once the parents learn what the children are learning, it's going to trigger something in them. They say, oh, I should have done this a long time ago. So now let me help my children.
Well, I used to play cash flow as well, and cash flow for kids. And I know that just the game itself used to be a couple $100 just to get the game. We used to call it Monopoly for adults, and Monopoly with real numbers, because there's no $6 rent, you know, like it has in Monopoly. It actually has the real numbers. So, you know, I know the games are expensive, but, you know, we talk about this number of $550,000 because that is what the average amount of a donation from one gift of real estate, the average equity, the average proceeds after expenses, the money that goes to the nonprofit world on average is $550,000. So what would your nonprofit do with that kind of revenue influx?
Well, first and foremost, I would buy a property where I can create a recreation center. You know, common terms is recreation center. You know, and we're doing the recreation centers, and, you know, we have basketball, we have football. We have all the sports and entertainments and the dancing and everything, but nobody's really getting down to the basics of financial education, like Robert Kiyosaki's game, or like the Road to Prosperity game by Brain Games Learning System, a company that I'm a part of. So once we get them into that atmosphere, you know, then they'll get to learn how to get out the rat maze. So they don't have to go get in the rat maze, because like Robert Kiyosaki says, you know, the educational system is to get them to go find a good job, work 40 years, 40 hours a week to get 40% of what they earn, you know? So my focus is to help them become a boss, which is built on self-success. America was built on entrepreneurship, you know, and the history, how we got to today is American history, but we really don't talk about it. But right now, with the recession and everything that's going on, everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. So who better to teach but the children?
You mentioned the 40-hour work week. I've heard it said that entrepreneurs, which I have been one of since I was 8 years old, selling gum to other kids for a profit since I was 8. It is said that we are the only people who will work 100 hours a week to avoid working 40.
And it's fun. It's fun.
Amen. When it's something that you love, you never work a day in your life. So in order for us to get these kids the education they need, and of course then their parents and the whole community, and to get these funds coming in for you, it's really important that the people of your community, I know you're very influential, very well connected, a lot of people that want to learn how they can help the community. Who are some of those nonprofits and foundations and individuals that you'd like to give a shout out to that are going to be hearing more and more between you and I and our commingling of our groups?
Well, for me and my community, which expands across the country and around the world, starts with Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, all the D9 organizations, the Prince Hall family, including the Shriners. We have to go with a relationship that I started last year with the United Negro College Fund, you know, and the Black clergy, because everybody is affected. And for years, we're still doing the same thing over and over and over again. But the one thing that we haven't tried is unity. You know, the hardest thing about peace is being a friend. We have to stop the crab in the barrel syndrome, you know, because everybody wants to get to the top. And as you go into the top, somebody wants to yank you down, instead of stopping and thinking, yo, if I'm at the top, I'm trying to pull you up. And the more people that I could bring up, the weight of our determination then helps to knock the barrel over, and then everybody can come out instead of yanking me down, you know. So this is what we have to do. I mean, it's, you know, the partying and everything, it's fun. I know what I was doing in 1992, you know. So I plead the fifth from 1989 to 1999.
You know, hearing you talk about the crab in the bucket, we really have read so many of the same books, and sounds like been to some of the same seminars and had some of the same mentors and coaches, because that's definitely a story that I have shared a lot myself. So just to bring our first interview to a close, we'll do many more over the next few months and few years, I'm sure. I always love to find out, what is something about you that has nothing to do with your work, or where you're from? Something most people maybe don't know.
That I went out to University of Kansas because my favorite movie was The Wizard of Oz. And my father's childhood friend was Wilt Chamberlain. And he's my all-time favorite player. So when I went out there, I fell in love with the campus. And my main purpose, back in the 80s, we didn't have the computers and everything. So I wanted to play basketball. And I'm straight up Philadelphia street ball player. So I said, well, Kansas didn't have a good record back then, and they can't really ball. I didn't think they could ball out there in Kansas. So I went out there to try out for the team. While I was trying out for the team, I was also pledging my fraternity. And I got a chance to play with JoJo White. JoJo White is the 1976 NBA Finals MVP, Boston Celtics. I'm from Philly. I don't like the Boston Celtics, but after playing with JoJo, the late great JoJo, I fell in love with their system, not the team. And I said, oh, I'm going to make this squad because I done played with them like 3 or 4 times. Larry Brown comes to town, and I got a chance to try out for him. I got cut. I made it to, out of 250, I made it to the last 15. So what a lot of people don't know is that, except for the firefighters that I'm working with, when the Sixers beat LA in 2001, I called the control tower to ask what time would the plane land. And we came and did a water display. The chief got mad, and Larry Brown got off. And I yelled, I said, yo, coach, you finally got it right. You finally got a Bell on your squad, and it was Raja Bell. So that's a little known fact. I'm off the fire department, so they can't reprimand me on that.
Well, that's a good one. I always ask that question, and I rarely get one that is that interesting. That's very cool. So I take it Wilt Chamberlain was part of that experience then?
Well, Wilt Chamberlain went to Kansas. He went to Kansas, and then, you know, his history, he left Kansas. And then he went to the Harlem Globetrotters, and then his extraordinary and great career as a Sixers, a Warriors, a Sixers, and the Lakers. He's just my all-time favorite player.
I knew his name. I didn't know he was from Kansas. So look at that. You learn something new every day.
And Overbrook High School. He's from Overbrook High School, my high school.
Well, it's so much fun to have you as part of the Real Agents of Change representing the Philadelphia area. We are so thrilled to be introducing you to the community foundations there and other Real Agents of Change, real estate agents, financial advisors, CPAs, etc. And just can't wait to hear of the big stories of the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars that can come into your community just from, not only just from the gifts of real estate, but by being able to go out and talk about something completely different in the marketplace. So any last thought before we close the interview?
I'd like to thank you for answering all those questions that I had just over a week ago. You know, God moves in mysterious ways. As you know, I was getting prepared for a procedure, and it was delayed long enough for me to get on the 3-hour Zoom. And as soon as I got home, I said, look, I'm gonna do this because this is simple, and it's something that I already do. I'm not a real estate agent, but I know a lot. So all I got to do is just point and say, listen, let's help these people over here. You do the work. I'll put you in touch with the people that'll make it happen. And that's that connection. That's that cooperative economics that is needed to change the world with peace.
Cooperative economics. I love it. We call it collaboration, and are just so happy to be doing that with you. So friends, thanks for watching the Real Agents of Change podcast series. If you know any realtors or financial advisors or CPA tax accountants, we need them to be part of our credibility, CRED, charitable real estate divisions that we are creating all over the country, that Coach Trey is a major part of in the Philadelphia area. And if you have a nonprofit or if you're part of a community foundation, please come learn, come play with us, because there is a 100-year-old tax law that has been so underutilized, so under leveraged. $9 billion a year is donated to nonprofits through gifts of real estate, but that's just a drop in the bucket compared to what it will be when people like us start spreading the word. So all you got to do is click share. And like Coach Trey was telling me earlier, his mission is to help those kids retire their parents and their grandparents. So if you want your kids to retire you, just click share. It can't get any easier than that. Thank you so much for being here, Coach Trey.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
we'll
Thank
see you
you.
guys on the next episode. All right, bye-bye.
Peace.